All right, folks, welcome back to a valued conversation, Gen X Spoken Word, take two. So, anybody who was here about 30 or so minutes ago, we've got some audio problems that hopefully I've resolved this time. So, anyone who's just getting here, pretend you never heard anything, all right? So, I'm going to be checking the chat here a little bit more closely. So, if I'm having some problems still, I'll take maybe a minute or two to take a look. And if I can't figure it out, we're just going to shut everything down for the evening. And I'll just have to go through and see what's going on. And I will reschedule this for tomorrow because I'm not sure how my settings dropped. But nonetheless, it did. I think we should be good now. Fatty, shout out to you. Appreciate you taking a moment to help me with this. All right. So that being said, the topic is still fact checking. So again, what I'm trying to do here is hopefully make each of you your own personal fact checker so you can take a look at what's being said out here. So you have a way of verifying whether it's true or false. Now, again, there's going to be some bias to the information that everyone gleans from this, but based upon what I'm going to present to you guys using these three sites, you should be able to figure out which particular news medium is providing you the most accurate information. All right. So enough for me. Let's do this again. All right. So we're going to look at three sites that we're going to verify information from the following news agencies here. All right. So we've got Media Bias. You've got Ad Fontes. Or let me correct that. All sides for Media Bias, Ad Fontes, and Media Bias Fact Check. So let's skip back over to Media Bias All Sides. And by the way, if no one is able to join me right about now, at least you should be able to do so by checking out the replay. So if no one is here right now for the live, that's my mistake. I should have had the settings verified, but hey, good practice, right? Otherwise, again, hopefully you're watching this in the replay. All right, so for all sides, they have a media bias chart. So you're going to have the headings up here of left, lean left, center, lean right, and right. Now the overall grading curve that you see here is going to vary between sites. So there might be some disparity between all of them, but it shouldn't be too much. Now you should be able to see that when we take a look at Ad Fontes and Media Bias. But ideally, looking at what we have in front of us, if you look at the bottom, it fully identifies what the letters stand for. C for center, then you have lean left, the light blue, and far left, which is dark blue. Of course, we've got light red for lean right and dark red for right. So ideally, you're going to have a variance depending upon which site you view, because they may add one or two more categories going to left to right here. Now, as of right now, center is where you'd like your information to be mostly, primarily because it would be considered the least biased. Now, again, just because it's sitting in the center does not mean there is no bias attached to it, because having a center view is considered to be a bias to some people. Now, whether or not you accept it as such, just understand that if there's anything that is sitting in the middle, consider that to be the least biased. Again, sometimes the middle is just the middle, as people would say, but ideally, anything that you get as far as information that sits in the center is guaranteed not to use loaded statements when assessing any information. So have a look here down through the center just to take a look at the organizations that are considered to be center. All right, so if we take a look at lean left, just as we did with center, these are the organizations that are viewed to be lean left. And then further over, we have left. Now, what you can find, depending upon the article or depending upon the community that may take a look at the information being shared here, some of these articles, or some of these news agencies will flop between lean left and lean right. The same if we look over here at lean right, you have agencies that will flip between lean right and far right. So again, just have a look at the organizations that are considered to be lean right versus those are considered to be hard right. Now, I will say I can see one or two organizations in here that if you go to a different agency that verifies this, they're seen as being either more towards the right, or if there was another block here, you would have extreme, saying that these are publications or organizations that go to the fringe side of the house. But again, you should be able to see this as we take a look at the other remaining items here, right? So now let's go ahead and take a look at Ad Fontes. Now, Ad Fontes also has their own media bias chart. So at first sight, it does look kind of busy. Granted, I'll give it that. But what we can do is subtract some of what we're seeing by clicking on the media types here. So we know we can add them one by one by website, by video, by podcast. So that's how you control the information that you see over here. Now, up to the top, we've got our ratings as far as, are we center, are we left, are we right, are we lean, and so forth. Now, it's a little bit different with Ad Fontes, but it's basically the same format. You've got your middle bias, and then you skew left, skew right, strong left, strong right, hyperpartisan left, right, and then most extreme left, right. Now, the way to assess also as far as what is considered to be valued and reliable, we've got the bar on the left-hand side going from 0 all the way up to 64. So if we're looking at news value and reliability, the sweet spot right now is 24 and up to 40. So anything falling within that range, whether it be left or right, is still considered to be valued and reliable. Again, we've seen some publications, no names that are going to be given right about now, that are always testing the line of fact versus fiction, or just a blatant lie, which people know as fake news. But again, from 0 up to 64 is how the scale works. 40 and above, going to a 64, hey, that's where you have your most reliable information, or it'll say more reliable, whereas 24 and below is the least reliable. All right, so moving on, we don't need this anymore. We'll move over to media bias. Now, media bias does not have the same charted information that you saw with All Sides and Ad Fontes. However, that being the case, they do provide a good list of options that you can view here on the menu if you wanted to look a little bit further into what the site does provide. So how about we go ahead and get on with this? So let's go ahead and choose a news agency that is going to sit right in the center. So we're talking about least biased. So I'm going to say C-SPAN plus media bias fact check. So the only reason that I'm starting with media bias is because we're already over here. So I'm going to go ahead and click C-SPAN, bias and credibility, and let's see what we get. And lo and behold, C-SPAN sits right in the middle, being the most, or excuse me, the least biased. Now, as I said again, depending upon who you're viewing, getting your information from, some people will view the center, which is least biased, as still having some type of bias due to them always wanting to look for information that's in the center. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Middle is middle, but at the same time, even though it could be considered the least biased, some people will still view the least biased as being biased, but still will take it as it is. Now, when it comes to factual reporting, we can see that C-SPAN is considered to be very high. And again, we have, out of here. Oh, come on. Just a second, folks. You see a lot of issues with pop-ups. Let's not waste with that. Let's just go ahead and Start this over again. Correction. So there will be issues with pop-ups. So I'll just let you guys know that right now. So be careful what you click on. Again, so moving down, oh, it's you again. There we go. All right, so moving down, you can see that we have the rating of least biased. These sources have minimal bias and use very few loaded words, wording that attempts to influence an audience by using an appeal to emotion or stereotypes. The reporting is factual and usually sourced. These are the most credible media sources. So if you wanted to see what else would be considered the least biased, you can click on this link and it would take you there. But overall, we can see that C-SPAN is rated as being least biased and very high for factual reporting based on unfiltered coverage of Congress. Now, below, we also have the detailed report. Notice that we have the bias rating as being least biased, which is 0. And this is what you want to look for. Very high. Again, a rating of 0, meaning that there's no detractors that can be found. Mostly free, media type is TV station. There's high traffic that goes through there. But the most important thing that you want to keep your eyes on when it comes to having the eye on the prize is high credibility. Now, below you have additional nomenclature where we look at the history of the site, the funding, and there's a little bit more information provided for analysis and bias. And then lastly, you have any information pertaining to failed fact checks if there has been any. So as we're seeing right now, there hasn't been any failed fact checks in about 5 years. So overall, we rate C-SPAN as least biased and very high for factual reporting based on unfiltered coverage of Congress. What else do we have? In general, C-SPAN is unfiltered and minimally biased. It should be noted that politicians frequently lie and mislead on C-SPAN, but that is not their fault. They point the camera and record whatever claims they are making. But overall, we know that C-SPAN is given a rating of least bias, and for factual reporting, it sits very high. So now let's go back over to Ad Fontes, and let's see if we can do the same thing here. So, you know what, let's leave everything checked. And let's see if I can get away with putting in C-SPAN, because some of these sites do require you to have a paid membership. Helps make sure I'm typing it in right. C-SPAN. Let's go C-SPAN TV network. Oh, there's that paywall. All right, so we couldn't use that version. Go C-WAN live stream. Oh, paywall again. And let's try one last deal. We can't do it here. I'm sure we should be able to do it from all sides, but it doesn't hurt to try here. Let's do Q&A. Yeah, so we're not going to be able to get anything from C-SPAN because it's looking here like it's going to require a paywall. You know what? Let's try somebody else. Just see what we get. I'm just typing this in to see if it'll be taken. Judging by how this is going, it might do it. Okay, yeah. Looks like that'll work. So we'll come back to here in a moment. All right, so let's take a look and see how CNN pairs out. Stand by for a second, folks. All right, cool. Thanks for that, Fatty. In the background here, I'm getting that the sound is perfect now. So once again, hey, thank you, Fatty, for the assistance on that. All right, so as I said here, let's just go ahead and swing back since we've already got page open, and we'll take a look at all sides and how they rate C-SPAN. So again, anything that has a least bias, that is good sourcing. So we'll say all sides. Let's go to C-SPAN and let's see what all sides has to say about C-SPAN. All right, so C-SPAN here is sitting right in the center. Now, even though we had a rating of least biased and is high confidence, all sides views this as being medium. But again, as I said, you may have some disparity between each particular site. Oh, got to record. All right, excuse me. Hey, Fatty, thanks for showing up again, man. All right, so going forward, C-SPAN has got a medium rating. Now, that still doesn't mean that they don't provide good information. As I said before, there will be some disparity between each of the fact checkers, but it won't be by too much. But notice they're still seen as center over here as well. So if we slide down, there's an additional nomenclature, just like we saw on the media bias side. So it's saying here that C-SPAN is center, and then it's also, again, giving you an idea of what their center rating means. Now, you do have community feedback that will also have their option to agree or disagree with what's being said. Now, from a community standpoint, it's being viewed that C-SPAN is more left-leaning, or it's a lean left. Again, there's that disparity. Confidence level once again is medium, whereas it was high when we were looking at it on the media bias side. But minimal disparity. So that's still a good deal because both sites agree that C-SPAN is center. Now, as I said a moment ago, we saw that we couldn't get a look at C-SPAN on Ad Fontes because that was requiring additional monies to be paid. No problem. We'll choose a different one here. So since we're already on the media bias for all sides, let's go backwards. Let's put in CNN. Now, CNN has two sides. They have an editorial and opinion side, and they also have the digital media. So let's just choose digital media. I believe that's most what people are viewing. All right, so now we're looking at CNN, and we can see that CNN has a rating of 1.3. So we got 1.3 going to the right, all the way up, from 0 to 6 on the right, as well as 0 to 6 on the left. So right now we've got a rating of 1.3 of lean, and we can see that illustrated here as well. Now, funny enough, even with a lean rating, we can see that CNN is rated higher than C-SPAN. All right, so there's high confidence. Plus, if we wanted a quick view of the report card, here we go, lean left. We have information when it was established. We can see where they are present. But again, we've got high confidence over here as of now. Again, we go through the nomenclature. We know that also on the media bias chart, we saw that CNN was, again, lean left, which it is still reflecting here as well. Excuse me. So again, what the lean left rating means. I think I mentioned this before for one of the other sites, which is still going to be plus, minus, but the disparity isn't too far. But let's go ahead and just hear how lean left is rated here on all sides. Sources with an all sides media bias rating of lean left display media bias in ways that moderately align with liberal, progressive, or left-wing thought and or policy agendas. A lean left bias is a moderately liberal rating on the political spectrum. Guardian Dog, hey, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Now, if we have a look here from 2016 up to 2023. So this will be updated here pretty soon, but you can see how we've gone from center to lean left to far left, back to lean. So depending upon the articles or depending upon who you have up there who is going to be giving the information out to you, or should I say reporting on that, you can see that there's been fluctuation in the ratings, but not too much. You've seen that CNN stayed on the uh, left to the lean left, but they've also had some center ratings, but they haven't been rated as center since 2017. Yep, lean left. So again, if you take a look, you can go through the history of the ratings for CNN. And also, if need be, you can see how respondents rated the bias as well. It's left 12%, 12.3, lean left 30, center 33, lean right 16.3, and right 7.3. Now, you also get an editorial review for some of the sites as well, and some will be longer than others. But if there's any information that you're looking to glean from this, let's get you out of here. There's always additional information that you can find to give you more information based upon the studies or the community reports that comes back, especially when you start looking at the survey results when it comes to bias. So now we're just looking at the history per se. But again, all that information will vary depending upon the site, or excuse me, the news organization that you may be viewing. Now, as far as the major stockholders of this guardian dog, I really couldn't say right now. That would require a little more insight here. However, again, if you wanted to know that information, they do have this section up here. Let's say ownership and funding. That if you did want to know that information, this is where you would most likely click here. So again, all the sites are going to provide this information to you, where if you needed to know more, you would always make sure to look under contents. All right, so that is our CNN, looking at it from the all sides perspective. So now let's take a look at CNN from Ad Fontes. All right, now for CNN, we can see that we have a skew left rating of that. Now, again, just going across the top, I think I mentioned this previously before for the folks who joined me initially before we had to go back and check the sound out. You're going to have a skew of possibly, let's say, 6 points, whether it be lean left or lean right. So you can see that CNN is considered to be lean left. And here's our middle or balanced area. So we're further to lean left with CNN, which so far lines up with what we saw for all sides. Now, going from left to right, we have most extreme left, hyperpartisan left, strong left, and skews left. Then we have our middle. And then going further over to the right, we have skew right, strong right, and hyperpartisan right. Now, I don't control anything up here, folks. So I just want to make that clear to anyone who might be watching. What you're seeing here is information that has already been worked out by the experts as far as gauging who the publications are targeting. I shouldn't say target, but more or less they are aiming their communications towards. Now, if we have a look here for news value and reliability, anything that falls between the 24 and 40 range, that's considered to be average, analysis or wide variation in reliability. But the higher you go, we can see that we have a higher rating being more reliable. And then you can see that there's a mix of fact reporting and analysis or simple fact reporting. But you get above 48, now you're talking thorough fact reporting or fact dense analysis. And this rating goes all the way up to 64. So 64 is the highest that this goes. If you again look at the left-hand side here, anything that is 24 and below, or below 24, obviously we're talking about the most incomplete, unfair persuasion, or less information that can be construed as reliable. So again, there's CNN. So now let's go back over here and we'll do CNN for media bias. And we'll look at the digital side. Now, as I said before, I do not control any of this. Okay, let's go back. Need to add something else there. Thought that looked familiar. All right, this is what we want, media bias fact check. All right, so now we're going to take a look here at media bias fact check. Hey, take a look. We've got left center, which would be the same as lean left for all sides, and for Fontes Media, this would be skew left. Now you can see that the reporting here is considered mostly factual. And we can see that we have a rating of left center bias that matches above, which again would be equivalent to the lean left that we saw on all sides and the skew left for Fontes Media. These media sources have a slight to moderate liberal bias. They often publish factual information that utilizes loaded words, wording that attempts to influence an audience by appeals to emotion or stereotypes to favor liberal causes. These sources are generally trustworthy for information, but may require further investigation. And just as before we saw with our least biased information, you have a link that you can follow if you want to look at more left center sources. Overall, we rate CNN moderately left center biased based on editorial positions by TV hosts that consistently favor the left, while straight news reporting falls just left of center through bias by omission. We also rate them as mostly factual in reporting rather than high due to 2 failed fact checks in the last 5 years. Now, recall where I said before that depending upon the sites, and I can't say this enough, you're going to see some disparity between all 3 sites, but it will not be by too much. All right, it's not going to be by much. Now, notice the bias rating now is a left center, so it's a negative 3.6. But for factual reporting, it's a positive 3.7. It's mostly free, but again, the main thing you want to focus on is the credibility rating. And we see that we have a medium credibility rating for these folks. Again, here's some more nomenclature. Who owns CNN? Guardian Dog, you were asking about stockholders. So on this particular site, this is where you would find information about any of the owners of CNN. So I'm presuming that there will be stockholder information here to be found, possibly. Otherwise, you'll just have to go out on the web and take a look. Who funds CNN? The network's financial support and funding come from diverse sources, including advertising revenue, cable and satellite subscription fees, and content licensing agreements. And then there's additional information that you find for analysis and bias. Now, as I said before, this is going to either hold more information or less, depending upon the news agency that you're reviewing. So we can move down a little bit further. Here are the fact checks that were mentioned that were failed. So the good thing here we see where it says false, but they did correct that information. And then another one talking about Greenland's ice sheet. It has low scientific credibility. But these are the only 2 fact checks, again, that they speak of that's been failed. So again, what is the bias? Overall, we rate CNN moderately left-centered biased based on editorial positions by TV hosts that consistently favor the left, while straight news reporting falls just left of center through bias by omission. We also rate them as mostly factual in reporting rather than high due to 2 failed fact checks in the last 5 years. So the information here is a repeat of above, but as you can see, still, CNN is rated, I believe, high. Not high, excuse me. Yes, high as far as mostly factual. So there it is across the board if we look at some of our ways of verifying the information. But I'm sure a lot of you may be wondering, well, what about some of the other news agencies? So we looked at a few left leaning ones. All right. So how about this? Let's go ahead and take a look at a few of the right leaning news organizations. So let's start off with Fox. Again, I don't own this, I don't control this. It's like looking into a mirror. What you see is what's there. The mirror doesn't care about your hopes, your dreams, or aspirations. It's just going to reveal to you what is standing in front. So that was my disclaimer. Fair use, fair use. All righty, here we go. All right, so with Fox News, it's pointing to the right, but we see that it's also stating that the news from Fox News is mostly factual. Now, remember, now we have two other sites that we're going to go across and make the same comparison. OMG, exclamation point. Pop ups. Oh, but hey, we've got something different here. We've got questionable source. Now, we didn't see that with CNN or C SPAN, did we? We are seeing right now, and I said before, I don't control this. We're seeing where this side is saying that Fox News is a questionable source. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say about that. A questionable source exhibits one or more of the following extreme bias: consistent promotion of propaganda conspiracies, poor or no sourcing to credible information, a complete lack of transparency, and wow, they are flaming on these guys. And or is fake news. Fake news is the deliberate attempt to publish hoaxes and or disinformation for profit or influence. Sources listed in the questionable category may be very untrustworthy and should be fact checked on a per article basis. Please note sources on this list are not considered fake news unless specifically written in the reasoning section for that source. So again, folks, I want you to keep in mind here that on the two news organizations that we looked at previously, C-SPAN and CNN, they were not listed as a questionable source. But as soon as I put in Fox News, we saw that Fox News is not center, not right center, but we see that it is hard right. And the only thing left from that would be extreme. So what do we have here? Oh, wow, let me just save that because it's going to get harsh. So what do we have here for an overall take of this? Overall, we rate Fox News right biased based on editorial positions that align with the right and questionable due to the promotion of propaganda, conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, the use of poor sources, and numerous false claims and failed fact checks. Straight news reporting from beat reporters is generally fact based and accurate, which earns them a mixed factual rating. Now we get to the detailed report. We can see that blood runs red on the highway for Fox News. All right, so what do we have here for questionable reasoning? Conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, propaganda, poor sources, numerous failed fact checks. So there's a bias rating of 6.7. So they've pretty much all but maxed out the scale, just about. But for factual reporting, based upon what the beat presenters, excuse me, the beat newscasters provide, it's mixed. Therefore, that's why they're at 6.1. So mostly free, TV station website. But here's the big thing: Fox News gets a rating of low credibility. Again, I did not plan it like this. So if we scoot through, we have a nomenclature as always. There's the funding. Of course, you know, Rupert Murdoch owns this. One of his sons are running things now. Here's an analysis that you'll find if you want to read through that a little bit further. But here's also an area where we discuss bias. So again, I'm not going to read all that, but you're welcome to come back to the site and view this. But what I'm doing here is going down to the failed fact checks. Now, let's take a look at this. In general, Fox News' beat reporters produce low biased, fact based news. However, the reporting on their entertainment based news programming frequently promotes propaganda and false claims that render Fox News questionable. So you can remember when Tucker Carlson was going through his issues where they said that, and this is Fox, that it was entertainment, something along those lines. And because of that, they couldn't really render them as not being a news agency. So I'd have to go back and find the article to give more credence to that. But again, just based off of what you see right here, you can see that when it comes to Sean Hannity, Greg Goodfield, Laura Ingraham, and so forth, again, they're referring to the entertainment-based news programming of these individuals. They say that it frequently promotes propaganda and false claims, thus far rendering Fox News questionable. And here are some of the failed fact checks. So you can see that we have pants of fire, pants on fire, false, pants on fire, false, false, and mostly false. Yikes. So again, we've already seen here that they've rated Fox News as having mixed factual reporting. All right, so that is media bias fact check. So let's go over here to Fontes Media and see what we get. So let's do Fox News channel, not the website. Another paywall. Fox News Sunday, Media Buzz. Now, I really want to look at Fox News across as a total here. Let's try this. Let's try Bill Hemmer. Bill's pretty good. Let's see if it lets us in here. Nope, it's a paywall. All right, so we're just going to have to step past Ad Fontes. So that leaves us with all sides. So if all sides looks as them in the same credence of being low and questionable with their information, we have 2 out of 1. So that still gives us some sort of rating to view here. Let's just do it this way. So I'm not looking at buying a membership here with Ad Fontes anytime soon, but maybe if I do any more reviews, I might go ahead and do so. Fox News, all sides. All right, so we saw that there's also opinion, but we also have Fox News Digital. So we can see here that Fox News Digital hits right onto the right side here, right? And we see that there is medium confidence in this rating. So we'll go back and we'll also take a look at the opinion. So I think that's where we're going to find more of Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Greg Gutfield, and the likes here, all right? I'll include, I think, Jesse Waters as well. So here's the content information. If you want to go through, you get an idea about what the rating is. We see that it is all the way to the right. All right, so what does that mean? Sources with all sides media bias rating of right display media bias in ways that strongly align with conservative, traditional, or right-wing thought and or policy agendas. A right bias is the most conservative rating on the political spectrum. And then we have bias reviews, as well as also we can look at the history of how Fox News has either been lean right or right, but from what we can see right now, right is where we're currently looking at the last rating of that. But then we saw that at one point in time, it was lean right. So you go further back, you can see it goes from lean right to right, sitting in the middle. But then we also have our respondents who do the rating. Hey, Big Giz, thanks for dropping in, man. Again, this is not my information. This is just what's out here. As I've said before, an issue that I've seen here is that people do not know how to properly assess information. So if I give everyone the areas that I go to before I speak, or when I come on the panels that some of you have seen me on, this is where I'm getting my information from. I'm gauging across the board before I speak. Now, many times I've been called a liar. Okay, so be it. I'm not going to complain about that. But I realize that when I'm being told that, I know for almost a fact, at least I'm about 90% 90% certain that whoever is calling me a liar is probably getting their information from one of these right-wing places, as opposed to looking at it from right wing, center, and left, and then gauging the accuracy across all three of them. But generally speaking, when I hear the words, "Oh, you're lying," okay, I don't get into a pissing match per se. Now, if there's a debate, we may have to go back and forth. Now, I will say that any debates that you find yourself being a part of on some of the panels, it's best to make sure that hopefully the judges have an idea of these particular sites that they can gauge information off of. But if not, this is why I'm sharing this information. Therefore, any of you can be your own fact checker. Jameson, what's going on, man? Thanks for showing through. All right, let's get back to it. So again, as we keep rolling down here, you're going to get more information about Fox News going back through the years here. Now, again, for the confidence level, it says here for this is, by the way, the digital medium as of February 2025, all sides has medium confidence in our rating for Fox News Digital. An editorial review or blind bias survey has affirmed this rating, or multiple reviews have returned differing results. If we perform more bias reviews and gather consistent data, this confidence level will increase. So by all means, anyone watching this, if you need to ascertain as to whether or not you've got good information, by all means, I need you guys to use one of these three sites, all right? So let's step back here. Now, dun, dun, dun. Let's take a look at the opinion side. Woo. Good Lord, y'all. So the Fox News opinion, now these are the folks that you see every night on Fox you having to go through. And notice they've got a rating of 4 out of 6. And we are hard right on this one. So all sides has low or initial confidence in this bias rating. So there is a lot of confidence lacking on the opinion side. All right, what a right rating means. Sources with all sides media bias rating of right display media bias in ways that strongly align with conservative, traditional, or right-wing thought and or policy agendas. A right bias is the most conservative rating on the political spectrum. All right, so we see that it's still right-based, but digital had more trust here. I believe they were medium, whereas the opinion side of the house is low. Now, of course, you're going to have community feedback that will take a look at this. And believe it or not, there will be some disagreements with this. Check this out. As of February 2025, 50,158 people have voted on the all sides media bias rating for Fox News opinion. On average, those who disagree with our rating think this source has a lean right bias. Absolutely not. Now, when you're talking about those opinion folks, absolutely not. Now, then, this is just me speaking from my personal perspective. This hard right that we're seeing here is accurate. And you can gauge that by going through the other news sources that are out there and guaranteeing yourself to know that by doing such, you will get a level set view of where things lie when gauging Fox News against everybody else. All right, so there we have it here going across Fox News. So we've taken a look at CNN, we've taken a look at Fox, we've taken a look at C-SPAN as well. But again, center is best where we would like ourselves to be. And if not center, a little lean to the left or a little lean to the right. But if you slam on either side here, either left or right, that is saying that, hey, there's a high level of bias. All right, so now let's do this. Let's put up here MSNBC. So let's go ahead and move here. So since we're already talking about all sides, we'll start with them first. Not surprised. So we've got a full left rating, but we're not too deep off in the left with MSNBC. Oh man, these pop-ups. All right, so we can see that we've got a left rating. And when we take a look at the confidence, we see that we have a medium for MSNBC. So what does the left rating mean? Sources with an all sides media bias rating of left display media bias in ways that strongly align with liberal, progressive, or left-wing thought and or policy agendas. This is our most liberal rating on the political spectrum. So you can also continue reading through details here. Hey, take a look at this though. MSNBC's self-proclaimed progressive bias. Beginning in the mid-2000s, MSNBC's opinion programming increasingly reflected its concept of political progressivism. In October 2010, it publicly acknowledged this with a marketing campaign it called Lean Forward. Further, in September 2013, MSNBC launched its revamped official website under the tagline, "What Progressives Have Been Waiting For." Their current tagline is, "This is who we are." Okay. And as before, when we look at the bias reviews, we can have a look and see through the years how we have a lean left rating to a left rating. And again, it's going to bounce back and forth. Now, as far as confidence goes, as of February 2025, All Sides has medium confidence in our left rating for MSNBC. An editorial review or blind bias survey has affirmed this rating, or multiple reviews have returned differing results. If we perform more biased reviews and gather consistent data, this confidence level will increase. Now, if we were talking about fact checks or failed fact checks, we can see that MSNBC spread false story about a Capitol officer's death. In 2021, MSNBC repeated the false story that Capitol Police Officer Brian D. Sicknick was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher by Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. The story spread rapidly through the press after initially being reported by the New York Times. Some accused the outlet of spreading disinformation. All Sides details the charges of disinformation here. So we can see that MSNBC itself has not been without its problems when it's been reported. But overall, as has been stated here, they're found to have a medium rating here, I believe. Let me go back and verify that. Yes, they have a medium confidence score. All right, so let's take a chance here with Ad Fontaine because we know these guys have been killing us with paywall, right? MSNBC. You know what? We're just not going to fool with these guys. So we're blocked by paywall. So let's go with Media Bias Fact Check and see what they have to say about MSNBC. So if this is something that is worthwhile to anyone watching, by all means, let me know with a little something in the chat. All right. If this is useful, I really want you guys to make sure that you use this information the next time you're either on a panel or you're inside of a chat and just hanging out for the show. All right. Again, I can't stress enough how useful this can be if you're going to sit around and gaze into the information that you're hearing. Again, we want media bias fact check. Did I not hit that? Let's try this again. There we go. All right, scrolling down, we can see here that MSNBC is past left center. So they're not least biased, they're not left center, they are left. And we get the same rating here, or let me take that back. We get a rating of mostly factual mixed. But notice, as we look at this, did we ever see questionable sources? No. As of right now, the only place, yeah, I need to make sure my face is seen here. The only place that we have seen questionable sources was with Fox News. I speak it, but I don't interpret. I'm just reporting what's here, all right? So again, we're seeing that MSNBC is looked at as being mostly factual, and we have a mixed review. So again, we know what the left bias is because we read that off for CNN. But let's look at the overall here. So overall, we rate MSNBC left bias based on a story selection that consistently favors the establishment left. We also rate them mixed for factual reporting due to news hosts and the website producing 3 pants on fires claims. Ugh. Now let's take a look at the detailed report. So for the bias rating, left, we are a negative 6.4. But again, they're considered to be mixed when it comes to factual information, hence 5.8. So therefore, we have a credibility rating of medium credibility. So that is not bad at all. All right, so hey, take the win on that for folks wondering, well, what do they rate? Even though they are left, they are still considered to be of medium credibility. Where we saw with Fox, the digital side, I believe, was medium, but when it came to the opinion side, which again is your late night with your Fox hosts, Ingram, Waters, Gutfield, and Hannity, they were rated as low. All right, so we'll go through here. There's history, there's funding, there's analysis, as well as bias if you want to read that. But what we're looking for is failed fact checks. Been on that page all day. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. Bye. All right, so failed checks. Failed fact checks. False. False, pants on fire, pants on fire. And then we've got a few false here. But you again, click. Oh my goodness. Scram, y'all. All right, so again, what? So we'll just go ahead and just deal with that. So as we're looking here, we can see that overall we've got a left bias rating for MSNBC, but it's still listed as being mostly, here we go, factual with mixed information. So that's not a bad deal here. All right, so we've been across the board here with 3. We've seen MSNBC, we've seen Fox, we've seen CNN, we've seen C-SPAN. You know what? Let's look at some of the real fringe sites here. So we haven't really done that just yet. So we know Fox and MSNBC, and CNN are always going head to head and back and forth, right? Let me do a refresh to see if that'll fix this continual question ask. All right. So again, as I was saying, we've seen that is CNN, MSNBC, and Fox that are primarily head to head. We have ABC, CBS, and folks off to the side. But these generally, the 3 that I've mentioned are the big 3 that people normally take a look at when it comes to ratings and who is true and who is false. So let's go a step further. How about we take a look at Newsmax? So what I'm going to do is skip past Ad Fontaine, because they are definitely looking for payment on some of this. So we'll just stick with these two fact sites for right now. But if you want to, you can always pay for Ad Fontaine, and you'll have information that you can bruise into. All right. Oh, hey, Zagu, I'm sorry, man. I didn't see you up there. Thanks for stopping in. All right, so Newsmax, bias, and credibility. What do we have? Now, let's be honest here. Is anyone really going to be surprised when we take a look and see how Newsmax fares out? All right, so anybody in the chat, give me your thoughts. What do you think the rating is going to be for Newsmax? Are we going to be high, medium, or low? Go ahead, give me your thoughts. I'll hang in for a couple of seconds before I go forward, but let me know what you guys think it might be if anyone's still watching. Now, I view Newsmax as being French, this absolute straight up craziness French. Survey, oh my God, survey says, boom, we have extremism. All right, so when you get this far over, when you get to a certain level on the right side of the scale, even on the left side of the scale, but when you get to a certain point to whereas you are low, you're going to get hit with that questionable source. So you can see right now, Newsmax is considered extreme. Big Giz, nope. If they were considered high, it would be factual reporting very high. But instead, we're getting mixed. So it is considered low. So this is a questionable source. And when you get that questionable source, yeah, you're pretty much done as far as being believed for anything. All right. So a questionable source. What do we have here? And I think I read this before, but for those of you who may have missed a little bit earlier, I'm going to go ahead and include you in. A questionable source exhibits one or more of the following: extreme bias, consistent promotion of propaganda, conspiracies, poor or no sourcing to credible information, a complete lack of transparency, and or is fake news. Fake news is the deliberate attempt to publish hoaxes and or disinformation for profit or influence. Sources listed in the questionable category may be very untrustworthy and should be fact-checked on a per article basis. Please note, sources on this list are not considered fake news unless specifically written in the reasoning section for that source. And they're talking about everything maintained here for questionable sources. But as far as excuse me, but as far as Newsmax is concerned, they are on the extreme side of news, aka fringe. Giz, low is bad, very bad. So if you think that is bad now, let's see if there's, oh yeah, look at all this red up here. Questionable reasoning. So for the detailed report, we have conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, propaganda, fake news, failed fact checks. And right, we have 7.8. So yeah, they slammed it on the scale here for what type of leanings they have. They are all the way to the right. Dare I say they are at extreme, actually. So for factual reporting, that's rated as low. And for the credibility, low credibility. But yeah, Giz. So high is good here. You want to be rated as high when it comes to factual reporting. So that means that you are leaving out a lot of bias. You're not using any loaded phrases to sway your audience. You're just reporting the news as it is. So a rating of high is the best you can get when it comes to factual reporting. And so far, CNN, as you were, C-SPAN was rated least biased. Therefore, they were looked at as being very high for factual reporting. Now, as we scroll down, let's get to the fun part, the failed fact checks. So we've got what? False, misleading, false, mostly false, false, pants on fire, false, false, unsupported, false. Now, obviously, you guys are going to be able to go back and take a look at this yourselves now that you have an idea of how to assess any of the information that you might be reading. We rate Newsmax right, biased, and questionable based on the promotion of conspiracy theories and pseudoscience, as well as numerous failed fact checks. So again, I don't make this, I just report it. So that is media bias fact check. Let's see what All Sides has to say. All right, so funny enough, we've got a rating of 305, and notice that they're putting them right in the sliver here. So All Sides is attempting to say that Newsmax is medium confidence. So right off the bat here, you can see that we need a third fact checker to arraign this. Now, funny enough, I can't see anything from right here that'll tell me why they're rating Newsmax as being medium confidence. But again, I said there'd be some disparity, but I'm thinking right now we've got some extreme disparity here because All Sides is trying to say that Newsmax is just a hair between lean right and right. So I think I have an idea of how we can settle this here. We may need to go back to Ad Fontaine because even though we can't pay and look at something specific, I think we might be able to expand the chart and we can get a better look here. So we'll do that in just a moment. So again, we'll scroll through here. So we have All Sides again saying that Newsmax gets a rating being right, but also they're saying that medium is how they're going to describe the confidence level. All right, so we're getting, we look here at 2024. It says that there is a skew to the right. So here are some of the stories that can be reviewed here and that pertains to why they're viewed as right. Now let's keep looking here. As we go down, as I stated before, you get a chance to look at the history. So we can see that, again, Newsmax in 2022 was viewed to the right, just a little bit past lean. And we see that they were rated as lean right back in 2021. So again, as you can see, there is some disparity here. As of February 2025, 29,834 people have voted on the All Sides media bias rating for Newsmax. On average, those who disagree with our rating think this source has a lean right bias. Ooh, yeah. So again, and the confidence level here, again, rated at medium. All right, there's additional information that we can find here, but oh, hey, take a look at this. The bias of Newsmax's audience. A 2021 Nielsen MRI fusion study on Newsmax's audience reportedly found that 37% of Newsmax viewers consider themselves middle of the road, no political affiliation, compared to 35% of CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News viewers. A total of 37% of Newsmax viewers identified as Republicans and 26% as Democrats. 70% reported they always vote in national, state, or local elections. Big Giz, hey, good looking out, man. I appreciate that you for subscribing. Hopefully there's more that you'll find here that you'll enjoy. Now, with that, let me take a second here just to let it be known here. Find someone who knows someone to tell somebody about what's going on right here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. And by all means, subscribe if this is what you're looking for. All right, so getting back into this, according to Newsmax's own report on the study, it also found Newsmax viewers live extremely active lifestyles, contain a 50-50 male-female split, earn a medium household income of 67,000, and 2 out of 3 Newsmax viewers are spiritual, saying a prayer as part of their daily life. All right, what more can we say about Newsmax? Newsmax Media is a conservative American news media organization founded by Christopher W. Ruddy. Based out of West Palm Beach, Florida, it operates on several platforms, including Newsmax.com and Newsmax TV. The company was founded in 1998, has been fairly consistent in generating positive revenue by targeting an audience of higher income baby boomers. Newsmax describes this magazine as one of the largest independent monthlies with a conservative perspective. Now, notice, I think MSNBC talked about being for progressives. Newsmax speaks about being for conservative. Now, to break this tie here, we saw here when we looked at Newsmax from the perspective of media bias fact check, it was seen as being extreme. Now, you had numerous fact checks. You had also, which is being excluded here. Recall now, Newsmax has also had to pay money because of false information that they were sharing. So just like Fox News, Newsmax was sued. So I'm asking right now, I want you to think about this. MSNBC so far hasn't been sued as of yet. I can't call, has CNN been sued? But nonetheless, we know that Newsmax has. So if you've been sued for false information and you have settled out of court, how can you be considered to have medium confidence? So obviously we need a tiebreaker. So let's go ahead and see if we can find something with Ad Fontaine. You know what? Why recreate the wheel? I don't know why I keep saying Ad Fontaine. Ad Fontaine. Please excuse me. If I can't get in on this, what I'm going to do is just open the chart up. All right, so we've got strong. So we've got strong right over here for Newsmax. So we have a reliability of 29.5 and a bias of 1346. You know what? So what I might do is, being that here's another way around this, we may go back and take a look and see what we can get for a Fox score on Newsmax. Excuse me, a Fox score on Ad Fontes using this approach. Looks like it may work here. But let's go back to the bias chart, and I have an idea of what we can do here. So they said that it was a strong right here. So we want to look for Newsmax in here. There's OAN. So let's see if we can expand this a little bit. There we go. Boom. Found them. There's Newsmax. I knew there was another way we could go about this. All right, so we can see here that Newsmax is listed as being 29.5. So therefore, they're saying that there's a bit of news value and reliability here with Newsmax, although being strong right. Over to the side, we're seeing again a 29 point. Where we go? I'm sorry. We've got Newsmax here with 29.05, which means they've managed to stay just right in the news value and reliability. So based on that, we'll say that all sides and Fontaine both agree that Newsmax is, what do I say, 29%. So that would include them to be, if it's 29, so 29.30. So we'll go with just barely making it into news value and reliability. So they're just barely in there. So they're hanging right above less reliable. All right, so we'll take that as the tiebreaker for right now. All right, so this is a good way to do this. So we can just go ahead and if whatever we're looking for, we can expand it. All righty then. So I think, what was it? Was it Fox News, guys, that we couldn't get our hands on earlier? So let's step back and let's do Fox News plus add content. All right, so no, we don't have the website. Here we go with bias, reliability, and our scorecard. Woo, 28. All right, so there you have it. Fox News, prime time, hyper partisan right, reliability mixed, reliability opinion or other issues. But this is what the program ended in 2022. So I know they took that off the air. So we want to skip over that. Let's go with the Fox News rundown, see what we get here. Oh, that's a podcast. So I think we actually are looking for, yep, the website. Fox News race website and skews right. All right, so this is the website, Fox News skews right here.com. So the overall core for reliability, we've got 35.38, bias 1106. So it says that it skews right. So that being said, let's go back to the bias chart. And skews right. So we should find them over here somewhere. So let's go ahead and expand. And there we go. So I hope you see how I'm doing this. I'm just clicking on the inside and I've got the little roller wheel on my mouse. So I'm scrolling up to expand and scrolling down to minimize. So you can see foxnews.com hits right in the skew right, just as expected. And guess what? I didn't even have to spend any money to get that information. Boom. All right, so there we have it with some of our basic news channels that we take a look at. So Newsmax, as we saw here, gets the bid to be news, or just barely, by coming in at 29. Fox News came in at 28. So how about this, folks? So these are the ones that we normally see that people are aware of. But the question is, how many of you are aware of some of the other outsiders? Let's say if we were to look at the left-leaning side, how many are you familiar with Reuters? All right, so let's take a look at that. Let's check out Reuters. Now, as of right now, I'm just rifling through some of the news agencies that I can think of. But again, I've got time. If no one is here, then you can always check this out during the replay. But I want to make sure I give you as much information as possible to work with in the event you yourselves aren't familiar enough to take a look at some of these other news organizations. All right, so the bias we have for Reuters is middle. So that's a good thing. So middle here would be similar to least bias on media bias fact check. But let's take a look at the reliability rating. So we've got 45.18 over here. So that is sitting on the top of the scale here, right? So let's go ahead and go back over to chart. And it says that Reuters is in the middle, right? So we should find Reuters in this band right here. I think they said they were 45.18%, which is mix of fact reporting and analysis of simple fact reporting. Let's go ahead and expand this. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the wheel up. And remember, folks, we are looking for Reuters, and we should be up in here somewhere for middle, and I see them. Here we go. Here we go with Reuters. As stated, 45.18 for reliability, bias 120, which means that we're sitting right along the middle or balanced bias. So let's pull this back in. And again, you can see it falls in the middle, but as we expand that, of course, it's going to move out a bit, but we know that Reuters hits right in the middle. So good deal. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at Reuters from the perspective of all sides. And just the same, we see that Reuters is considered to be center, and they've got a rating of medium. Now, I think I recall this before, but if not, I may have missed this previously for our other agencies that fell into center. Center doesn't mean better. A center media bias rating does not necessarily mean a source is totally unbiased, neutral, perfectly reasonable, or credible. Just as left and right doesn't necessarily mean extreme, wrong, unreasonable, or not credible. So again, you see where all sides may be walking the line just a little bit, but nonetheless, they're still saying that center does not mean it's better because some folks consider center to be a bias. All sides encourages people to read outlets across the political spectrum. So, of course, this goes without saying. Don't just hang it up with your first news article that agrees with your confirmation bias. You want to ensure that you do check anywhere and everywhere. And of course, also, we take a look down. We see that, again, we have a medium confidence rating for Reuters. And they also, again, sit in the center. Community feedback. As of February 2025, 4,174 people have voted on the all sides media bias rating for Reuters fact checked. On average, those who agree with our rating think this source has a lean left bias. So you can't make everybody happy, but we can see still that we're still sitting in the center stage here with Reuters. So Ad Fontes said that they were center, or they called it middle. All sides says they're center. So that's 2 out of 3. So let's go for that hat trick, all right? Let's see what media bias fact check has to say. Boom. There you go. So Reuters is 3 for 3, sitting right in the middle here with a least bias rating on media bias, which, if we were looking at all sides, it would be considered center, to which, if we were looking at Ad Fontes, it would be considered middle. So we see again for the factual reporting, we have very high, least bias. As I said before, a few loaded words, they're not attempting to influence an audience, so forth. I'm sure you all can read for yourselves. Overall, we rate Reuters least biased based on objective reporting and very high for factual reporting due to proper sourcing of information with minimal bias and a clean fact check record. All right, so the detailed report, least biased, we have negative 0.5, which means they're almost at the top here. But when it comes to factual reporting, we've got them sitting at 0, means that they are very high. And of course, the credibility is also very high, as in high credibility. Now, it seems that they are a certified IFCN fact checker. So I think a moment ago when we were coming onto this site, we saw that Reuters has a fact checker, I guess, engine of their own. So I'll make sure to include them the next time I do this. So I think that's about it, folks. I've covered most of the more well-known agencies. We've done CNN, we've done MSNBC, we've done Fox, we've done Newsmax. Oh, but you know, I just realized we haven't done OAN. So let's make that the last one that we view tonight, all right? By the way, here's Reuters fact check. Let me just click this for a second. All right, so yes, they've got some information here that they fact checked on. I'll go ahead and take a look at this site because I don't want to try and do anything off the cuff right now, being that I haven't had a chance to review them. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and step back and let's take a look at OAN. I think it's One American News. Marcus, what's good, man? Hey, yeah, you're getting to the end of the stream here. As you can see, we had a few folks here earlier. Zagu stopped through. Big Giz came through. Fatty said he was going to swing through, but he may have some other things going on. But as you guys know, I always tell you, if you can't make it to the live, you can always catch it in replay. All right, so now we're looking at the extreme side again when we are talking about OAN. So when we hit this extreme side, we know that we're going to be looking at a questionable source, and it's going to be mixed and going to be rated as low. Hey, thanks for repping, Marks. Appreciate that, man. All right, so I read it a few times already what a questionable source is. So I don't have to read this again, but anyone wanting to know that, the information is right here. Overall, we rate One American News questionable based on far right bias, lack of sourcing, promotion of conspiracy theories, and propaganda, as well as numerous failed fact checks. OAN is not a credible news source. Hey, Marcus, hey, no problem, man, for getting late here. I messed up a little bit earlier because I had some audio problems. So my settings had jumped on me. I hadn't realized it. So the audio was real low. I didn't know this until Fatty jumped into the stream and let me know and hit me up on WhatsApp. So we had to literally stop the stream. I threw that one away and I got started again. So this sound on this one should be a whole hell of a lot better. So don't worry about being late, man. When I put this out and do the next show, I'll make sure to advertise that in a good amount of time. But I'll also make sure that I check my audio a little bit better. All right, so for the detailed report, questionable reasoning here, we've got poor sourcing, conspiracy theories, propaganda, numerous failed fact checks. And again, their build is being far right and the fact checking is low, and we have low credibility. So the question now is, do we find media bias fact check being more, not more harder, but more critical? I guess that's what I'm looking for. Now, if you've watched 1AN, One American News, you've heard their on-air personalities, and you've read some of the articles, if they do provide articles, they are extremely fringe. But you've seen here that Ad Fontes and all sides look at them as being medium. So what that would mean that I would have to do is to go out and find more fact-checking sources so I can expand my pool. Right now, I'm just looking at 3. So if I were to expand my pool, that might help provide more background as to whether or not OAN, Fox News, or should I say Newsmax, are considered to be more on the fringe side, because both Newsmax and OAN are pointing at being extreme. But if we looked at the ratings from Ad Fontes and also from all sides, they view them as being medium, which would be right or lean right. Again, open to speculation, interpretation. We can look further down the road here. So, as always, this is like going to the comment section of a video on Facebook or anything. The comment section. So we're looking at the failed fact checks, and you can see that OAN is sitting in the same ballpark of failed fact checks, just as Newsmax is. But again, these guys are considered to be medium. If you look at all sides or Ad Fontes. So let's take a look at this. False, mostly false. Pants on fire, false, mostly false, false. Pants on fire, false, 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 mostly false, false, unsupported. Overall, we rate One American News questionable based on far right bias, lack of sourcing, promotion of conspiracy theories and propaganda, as well as numerous failed fact checks. OAN is not a credible news source. I can't say it enough. I speak it, but I don't interpret, right? This is the information that's out there. So, as I said, we may need to look at widening this gap if we do this again anytime soon, so we can have more fact checkers to counter and take a look at how all sides and Ad Fontes is looking at OAN and Newsmax as being medium. Did we even do that as of yet? Was it Reuters? I tell you what, since I'm here, let's do this again. Or if I'm getting anything confused, let's go ahead and skip over to Ad Fontes. I don't think I've done it over here as of yet. I'm probably thinking of Fox. So my apologies, folks. Let's go ahead and look at OAN since that's the first look that we've done at them. So we know that OAN on media bias fact check, they are looked at as being extreme, and unreliable. You know what? I don't need that here. Instead, let's do this. All right, so we've got the strong right rating here for bias, and the reliability is mixed. So the overall score is 28.5. So again, definitely we're going to have to find a few more fact checkers so we can kind of open this skew up, because what I'm seeing here is media bias from what I've seen with my eyes. Now, taking all bias out of that, when looking at the information that's been provided by OAN, as well as listening to some of their on-air personalities, it matches what media bias said, which was extreme. Now, the other reason why I say this is that OAN is also on the table, I believe, with Smartmatic as well. And I forgot the other site for false information for the 2020 election, stating that um, the voting machines were rigged, something along those lines. So I think OAN was also in trouble with them as well. So how are you guys going to get a strong right or a mixed reliability rating? Again, we'll find more sources. So let's go into the site. And again, they said that OAN is strong right. So we're looking for strong right. Here we go. Strong right. Oops. So that being said, let's go ahead and look for them. And here we are. So just as stated, there's OAN, strong right. If we want to see this on the board, here we go. Now the reliability rating is 2854. So if we go ahead and bring this down a bit and we go over here, we can see that they've just cleared it. So 28, 32. So we're probably talking just above opinion or wide variation in reliability. So they're just scraping through, or maybe if I'm looking at this wrong, they may be below that in the less reliable area. But nonetheless, we've got a strong right rating for them. So 24. So we're talking about an 8-point skew. 9, 28. So yeah, they're just about sitting in between reliable and news value and reliability. So they're just about in between here. And now let's take a look at all sides. Yo, again, they're labeled as right, but Notice how they are stuck right in between here. So I'm going to say that I have an issue here with how all sides is doing this, but then I would be showing bias, right? But here we're saying that the confidence for news for OAN is medium. Now, just so we can look at this one more time, OAN had a rating of questionable and unreliable. So does that mean that media bias fact check is biased? Well, it would appear so, but yet outside of Newsmax and OAN, we saw that everything else other than Newsmax and OAN, we were in lockstep with Ad Fontes and also with All Sides. But for whatever reason, OAN and Newsmax seem to be getting right in that sliver spot. And you should be able to go back and review this for yourselves. Now, again, here we are with extreme on media bias, but yet if we go to Ad Fontes, we see that Newsmax is considered to be strong right. Then you have hyper partisan right. They are listed at 28, which means they're just barely either getting above and into news value or just below news value. But nonetheless, they're looked at as being strong right. And then for all sides, they're considered to be medium. So if we were to break this out here, I guess strong right would be somewhere in between 4 and 5. But nonetheless, they're still getting a rating of medium over here from all sides. Now we can see where they were given the rating of lean right in 2023, and they were also on the side of right as well. So it's going to vary between these guys. But nonetheless, as far as the confidence level, as of February 2025, all sides has medium confidence in our right rating for One American News. An editorial review or blind bias survey has affirmed this rating, or multiple reviews have returned differing results. If we perform more biased reviews and gather consistent data, this confidence level will increase. So, best that I can see right now, the difference in rating here, we look at that, looks at the categories here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, say roughly about 5 for all sides. If we look at media bias fact check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll say 6 because we got extreme on both sides. And then with Ad Fontes, whoops. Oh, for the love of Pete, I'm sorry, folks. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll say 7. So we've got 2 more categories than all sides and 1 more category as far as medium bias goes. So definitely, if I have to do this again, we're going to have to find a few more fact checkers so we can break this this tie, or not even a tie, but to give more background on OAN and also for Newsmax. All right, folks. So we're sitting at an hour and a half. So I hope you guys have found this informative. So I ran this a little further than I expected to, but hey, that's all for the better, right? So again, the whole purpose of this exercise was to make sure that anyone who's out here searching for information now has a means of being their own fact checker. So there are plenty of other agencies out here. So if we look at it from the left side, you've got, we think we did Reuters, right? You've got The Guardian. You have The Hill. You have the Root. You have BBC, Rolling Stone. This is just me throwing out the ones that are coming to mind right now. ABC, for example. Plenty more to go on. On the right-hand side, you've got, let's say, Red State, Epoch Times, the Washington Examiner, New York Post. No, a lot of these that you'll be able to go out now and take the time to review for yourself and look at the layer of credibility that comes with them. So in the future, no one can tell you that you didn't know any better, because I do believe that for about an hour or so, I've given you guys enough information that you can verify anything that comes your way. You may not be a professional, but you should be a lot better now when being able to discern whether or not someone is bullshitting you or not. And that's going to still be based upon bias. If it gets down to that point, you've got at least 3 fact checking sites you can go to. If I find more, I'll share that. So once again, find somebody who knows somebody to tell you about what's going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. So as always, thanks everybody for joining me for this conversation, and I will see you at the next video. All right, take care. Light out.